This is Binghamton Now on News Radio 1290 WNBF Binghamton and WNBF.com.
I'm Bob Joseph. Today is Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024. This is Binghamton Now. WNBF 607-772-1290 is the hotline number. If you have something you'd like to talk about, we have the time and we have the phone lines now open. 607-772-1290, Binghamton and beyond. We cover the world. And why not? And another sunny, summer-like day in the Binghamton area. And as always, I say, what could possibly happen next? Somebody once told me, Bob, you know, it's always something. And that's true. That's why we have the news. That's why we do news in real time. That's why we don't record the news years ahead of time. That's why we don't publish our news out of state. Sunny blue skies. Ooh, it's so nice. It's so nice. Sunny today with a high of 76. And right now it's 51 in downtown Binghamton. That works out to 11 Celsius. What a great day. And air quality right on the cusp. It still is good. Air quality index right now is at 50. It's right on the line between good and moderate. We do have apparently some particle pollutants, but as the website says, it's good. There is some ozone. For those of you who are fans of ozones, there's a little ozone. Not as much. Not as much. Yeah, thank you, sir, for your important observation. Yes, someone left the cake out in the rain. They put 100 candles on it. Hey, maybe that's why we have the elevated ozones. I don't know. Let's take a look at WNBF.com, my favorite local website, just because I contribute some reporting. Top local story, the first drive-up cannabis shop in Binghamton will be opening soon. So take a look at the story, the latest details, including the name of Binghamton's first drive-up cannabis shop. The name is there revealed for all to see at WNBF.com. You can see for yourself. It's 9:13. Let's take a call, shall we? Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Yellow Bob. It's Gary from the West Side. Good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
So, I think my concern for the new president, if you really think about it, what's the first thing they're really going to have to deal with it? Is it the economy? Is it immigration? Is it abortion, transgendered rights? Or is it the impending war in the Middle East? And I think that's what the president that comes in now is going to have to deal with right away, is that impending war in the Middle East. Iran, it's going to escalate. It's going to get there. We know it. It probably will. And who can handle that the best? And who can handle the war in Ukraine the best? I think those two are very important. They're going to have to step right in and take care of that before they take care of the economy, immigration, which everybody knows there's problems there, and they're going to have to work on that. But I feel overseas is where the action is right now, and that's what's going to have to be taken care of.
So who do you think is best qualified to deal with the worsening crisis?
Well, that's a tough question, Bob, because, I think most people are afraid of how Donald Trump would react. So that could be a positive. It could also be a negative. We need somebody who's strong, who can deal with this and, but without going overboard, right? So that's the whole question. How involved do we want to get? So if you really say who, I would say probably Donald Trump would be the one to handle that. But then you got everything else going on with him that just like throws it all into a mix. But I think we need somebody that's going to stand up for America and not get us into this all-out war that appears is going to happen. Do you think that's a big issue, or do you think like the immigration or the economy is more of the issue? I realize, we live here in the United States, but I think that we got to take the whole worldwide picture into account when we elect the president.
Well, I think your observations are accurate. It's a big challenge, and obviously Donald Trump managed to prove himself for 4 years, handling one foreign policy crisis after another. So he certainly has a proven record he can point to. Whereas Kamala Harris, what's her record? What's her record when it comes to foreign policy? I'd like to hear what her foreign policy qualifications are.
Yeah, I would like to hear that too. Yeah. Too bad the news doesn't play that kind of stuff, or they don't speak about it.
It's not interesting. No,
you're right.
That is not going to get you any clicks. I can tell you that. They could do a 10-part in-depth series on Kamala Harris's views on foreign policy and steps that she would take to deal with the crisis in the Middle East and some of the other big problems, including the protracted war with Ukraine. I'd like to hear her specific ideas, but to be honest with you, even if CNN did a 3-hour special tonight, or if Fox did a 3-hour special tonight, or 60 Minutes on the foreign policy views and plans of Kamala Harris, I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure that I would watch. I think I'd switch over. Do they have any reruns of The Apprentice? I never watched The Apprentice. I saw some of the the promos back when it was on the NBC network, but I never watched the show. I think I'd rather watch 10 or 20-year-old reruns of The Apprentice than have to listen to an exhaustive 3-hour exploration of the Kamala Harris foreign policy. I'm not saying that it's not important. It's of critical importance. I'm just saying, at least I'm being honest.
Right. I agree. I think most people, instead of hearing what Kamala Harris would want to do over in the Middle East, they'd want to hear what Donald Trump said about something.
Exactly. I'd like to hear Donald Trump talk about other well-known golfers.
Yeah, he does put his policy out there, but they just don't report it, right? That's kind of the sad thing.
If you want to see his policy, I'm sure it's out there if you look for it. I'd rather hear, they should put Donald Trump on the Golf Channel.
He might get a spot there. Usually in the election, Bob, what draws when you get closer is fear, right? So politicians try to put fear.
And that's why this is working perfectly for Donald Trump's campaign, because the fear factor continues to escalate. We have a report today that North Korea has sent some of its troops to Russia. What does that mean? Does that mean that Putin is in bigger trouble with his forces? You start getting North Korea involved in the Ukraine war, and there's so many moving parts. I woke up this morning feeling good, but now here we are at 9:19. Gary, I have to admit, I'm starting to get afraid, very afraid.
Well, I kind of think, Bob, that behind the scenes, right, there's always stuff going on in the United States government. We're, collecting intelligence, and we're thinking ahead, we're projecting, we're trying to look into the future. And I think that for the most part, and this is just me, I could be totally wrong, I feel that, the United States does pretty good with that, knowing what to do in world situations, right? So I think that while there may be Kamala Harris or Donald Trump in the forefront and have to answer the questions, I think what goes on in the background is very important. And I think that we still have that under control, and I think that will take care of things. Now, whether for good or bad, or I don't know, but I think that is in place, and, that's what they'll use to go forward.
Absolutely.
But, yeah.
Well, we'll see what happens. It's to be sure the next 13 days are going to be exciting. More October surprises more often.
Can I just change gears here a little bit? With the YMCA story, the guy called in. He told you, and that created the whole story about how it's closing and stuff. And that's the sad part, is they're getting rid of a swimming pool, which I feel is kind of sad. But I mean, we've been talking about this for a while, how we need low-income housing in Binghamton, and that should be a big story. Why didn't they just come out and
That's a good question. And where is Gareth Sansom? Where is he? Was he? Is he? That's the whole point. He's been the CEO of the YMCA for many years. I don't know officially when he started, but I think over a decade. When's the last time you saw him being interviewed on Action News or News 34 or Fox 40 or WSKG Public Media or Press and Sun Bulletin or Binghamton Now? Gareth Sansom is the CEO of the YMCA. Where is he? Why hasn't he called us to explain what's going on? Yes.
This is a good thing, isn't it?
Well, it is.
I think it's a good thing, right?
It's a great thing.
Describe it.
He should be in here in the studio right now explaining why the board of directors took this action. I appreciate your call.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, we have a housing crisis in the Binghamton area. And so this is a bold step, an initiative that's been taken by the board of directors of the YMCA. So either the anonymous board of directors who sent out a note to members with no names attached, and the CEO, whose name is on the website, Gareth Sansom. I stopped by there on Monday when I was reporting out the story. First, they said they didn't think he was there. Then they called upstairs, and they found out apparently he was there, but in a meeting. So, of course, he couldn't talk to a reporter. So I left all my contact information, my card. That includes the really hot line, the hottest line, so he could have called me directly, and the email address. So I don't understand why he's not on the program explaining the changes that they're going to implement in downtown Binghamton and Westover. I have no idea. I don't know. It's a bold initiative looking to the future. Because of changing community dynamics. I agree. Our community dynamics have changed. I have seen it myself. And for some reason, and remember, our station is located conveniently 2.5 blocks or so, or maybe 3 blocks. It's about a 7-minute walk from the beautiful Binghamton Now Tower to the beautiful Binghamton YMCA facility. So walk over. Come on in. Come on in. The studio's fine. It's 9:24. You're listening to Binghamton Now on WNBF.
Providing you with the best solutions of your lifetime. The KSO Insurance Weekly Spotlight with Karen Sweet O'Neill on News Radio 1290 WNBF.
And this live feature is sponsored by KSO Insurance Solutions. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning, Bob. And how are you today?
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Wonderful. You want to talk about the widow's penalty?
Let's, shall we?
We shall. All right.
I'm reading everything that they put on the new teleprompter here. This is nice to have a teleprompter, so now I know what to say.
Oh, very good. I like it.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
it's like we could afford a teleprompter. I heard teleprompters.
Like you'd want one.
I was going to say, can you imagine me being tethered to a teleprompter?
No.
The minute they bring in a teleprompter to the studio is the minute I'm out of here, baby.
Hey, you would be, because your ratings would be down.
Oh, yeah. It'd be like people say, oh, now the show is live, but it all sounds so scripted.
Because it is.
Yeah, but now.
But not for you.
Yes,
or
the real. This is the real show where it's spontaneous and fun. So, okay, yes, let's talk about the information our listeners need to know.
All right. So we're talking about a little-known penalty, and it's called the widow's penalty. So what does it mean? It's when a surviving spouse ends up paying more taxes on less income after the death of their spouse. So how does that happen? Well, it happens, Bob, when a widow, or of course a widower, starts filing as a single filer the year after their spouse's death. Because when the first spouse dies, okay, when the first spouse dies, because there's usually only one right there, the surviving spouse typically sees a reduction in income. So even though, as a surviving spouse, you get to receive the greater of the two Social Security benefits, whether it was yours or your husband's, you're not going to receive the lower benefit as well when you were both married. So in addition, it's pretty likely that the surviving spouse will either completely or partially lose income, and that's tied only to the deceased spouse. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about, what if they were employed part-time? What if they had annuity payments that stopped at death, or pensions with reduced or even no survivor benefits? Well, that's a big decrease in income. So depending on how much income was tied to the deceased spouse, the surviving spouse's fixed income could see a sizable decrease, and it usually does, Bob. But a double whammy, because at the same time, the surviving spouse starts receiving less income, and then they find themselves subject to higher taxes. So how does that work? Well, and of course, there's some unique exceptions, but for the most part, the surviving spouse is required to start filing taxes as single instead of as married, filing jointly in the year following their spouse's death. So this year, in 2024, that means they would hit the 22% bracket at only $47,000, and change of taxable income. So married filers do not reach the 22% bracket until they have more than $94,000 in change of income. Okay, so that's a pretty big difference. Now, to make matters worse, the standard deduction that people can take, and of course we're talking about people over 65, the standard deduction the widow is going to receive is also going to be cut in half. So in 2024, for a married couple, both over age 65, the standard deduction is $32,300. A single filer over the age of 65, Bob, will only have a $16,500 deduction. So that pretty much gets cut in half. So even with less income hitting that tax return, widowed or widower tax filers commonly end up paying higher taxes due to that compression of tax brackets and the dramatic standard deduction decrease, because now they're a single filer. Bad, 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 bad. Also, tax bracket's not the only place that a surviving spouse can be hit or penalized. And what's the other one? Of course, it's Medicare premiums. And if they did not hit an IRMA, which is an income-related monthly adjustment amount for that Part B that gets taken directly out of their Social Security, I mean, when you're married, it's over $206,000 before you reach a higher IRMA that you get penalized. But when you're single, it's down to $103,000. Again, a pretty big difference. So what do you do? How do you prevent this? You know, it's really difficult to prevent it, but with some proactive planning, it certainly might help. So short of remarrying, and that's usually not a viable option for most people, you might not be able to avoid it completely, the widow's penalty. But if your spouse has recently passed away, you may be able to take some steps that can minimize your tax liability. And, you know, for most widows, the year their spouse dies will be the last year they will be allowed to use the higher married filing jointly tax bracket in that standard deduction. So in a lot of cases, Bob, one of the planning tools is it can make sense to strategically realize that you might be converting savings from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA. And then that way, your taxable income will not be as high. So, of course, there's a couple other things that you can do. But in the big scheme of things, what you want to be aware of is that this is actually out there. This is something that you have to address in many, many cases. So you want to be proactive. And it's at a very difficult time to be proactive in many cases. But it's better to be informed and know you might get that tax hit than just say, oh, my goodness, what's going on here? Also, it's annual open enrollment period for people that are on Medicare, as we talked about before, and we will again, October 15th to December 7th, and that is the period of time that people that are on Medicare or going into Medicare get to make their choices for 2025. So what do? Well, you can certainly attend seminars. You can look up things on the Internet, but be careful because if you respond to any advertisements, that gives you that insurance company or broker or agent or what have you with the insurance company permission to call you, and they will call you and call you and call you. So,
but what if I don't want them to call me? What if I just want the
then
information?
You don't respond.
No, say if I want information from them, but I don't want them to ever call me. What can I do then?
Not a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
then I don't
Sorry
need.
about that.
Well, no, that's
the whole
okay.
Purpose,
Then
Bob, is for them to sell you the product.
I get it, and as they should, but say they should have an option there just for folks like me who want some information, but for whatever reason we're just too busy to be dealing with call after call. And again, nothing. I respect what they do. That's a respectable field to be making your living in. But say I'm just so busy, I would like information to review at my leisure, and then after I've had time to review it and synthesize the basic points, then I will contact them when I have a few minutes. That's what I would like. You know what?
And you probably would receive that anyway within your mailbox because you're going to receive so much information.
You know, it's already started.
Well, of course, during this period of time.
And I'll tell you.
The problem is that people start to read it and their eyes glaze over because they're like, what am I reading? And does this pertain to me? And am I understanding it correctly? So what do? You call, you make an appointment, come in, we'll go over all the different plans available to you based on. And in a lot of cases, Bob, what you have for coverage is what you should keep. And that's important that people realize that. Don't just keep, switching year to year to year if you don't have to. Because, number one, it's disruptive. Number two, it might not save you any money. And number three, your features and benefits might not be as good when you're switching. So you need to have, that looked at and make sure that whatever your situation is going to benefit you by keeping it, moving it, or changing it. We are at 1708 Vestal Parkway East, as you know, Bob, up above Plato's Closet and Style Encore. You can reach us several ways for an appointment. You can simply give us a call at 607-772-4898. You can also Google us at KSO Insurance. All our contact information comes up, including our website. Make an appointment that way. Or if you missed the phone number, we have a big display ad under insurance in the Yellow Pages. And, Bob, if you have any questions. when you reach that golden age. You just give us a call.
All right.
Okay.
I have the number written down.
You should know it by now.
I should. After several years, every Wednesday morning, I should have it. It's like that pizza place, if you know
right?
what I mean.
Like Cortez or that Brosetti.
Yeah.
You know, all the jingles.
You get so many numbers that are embedded. You know, it would be terrible if they ever have to change their number.
Right, because it's great marketing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Karen, thank you so much. Hope you have a great day.
I hope you do, too. Thanks, Bob.
Thanks. And this live segment has been sponsored by KSO Insurance Solutions. It's 9:37 with the real Bob Joseph, except no expensive imitations. We will take phone calls for those who wish to participate. The phone lines are now officially open. Binghamton Now, 92.1 FM, 1290 AM online at WNBF.com.
For many in our
Binghamton Now moving forward with more calls from random listeners. Hi, good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
This is Paul from West Windsor.
Top of the morning.
Hey, to you too. I agree with the first caller in that the war, having a war and somebody dealing with is a serious problem. And he was suggesting Trump. And what I would like to say is we need somebody with gravitas, somebody that is down to earth and you understand what he's saying, you know where he's going. So we've listened to Kamala and President Trump over on the TV now for months. Trump has more gravitas. I think Kamala speaks in generalities and a little bit vague, but when Trump speaks, even though you don't like sometimes what he says, at least you know what he's saying. So he has the gravitas. So I agree with your first caller. He would be the best choice.
All right. Well, I think most of America probably agrees with you. We'll find out November 5th.
The secret word is gravitas.
Gravitas. Maybe he'll start using that on his commercials.
Well,
that's all they have to do for between now and November 5th. I mean, you've got early voting already underway in most of the country. Just run a bunch of commercials with a really deep voice guy, a voiceover guy. Gravitas. What America and the world need now. Gravitas. And then for the final 23 seconds, just show him. And then at the end, show a little grainy black and white picture of his opponent. Gravitas. The choice is clear, America. See what I'm saying? It writes itself.
Oh God, you're like him too.
I should be the voiceover guy. Gravitas. Hey, everybody has a price, right?
Yes, and you're joyful too, and so is he.
Thank you. Anyway, thanks for chiming in. We'll see what the other viewers have to say.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks. Gravitas. Well, she could do it too. She could get some. Well, whoever contacts me first, if they need a voiceover person for their TV commercials, and people would say, "But Bob, you can't do that." Well, there's a difference between I can't do it and I shouldn't do it. You're right, I shouldn't do it, but what are they going to do? What are they going to do if suddenly? And first of all, I wouldn't even have to say. People would say, you know, Bob, that sounds like your voice on those new commercials for the Kamala Harris Gravitas campaign. That really sounds like you. And all I have to do is just keep quiet. I don't have to say yes or no or anything. I mean, if somebody would have a problem with it, go ahead. Make my day. Prove it. Hi, it's 9:45. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning there, Bob. It's Dave from Vestal. How you doing?
Good. Gravitas.
Good. Gravitas.
There it is,
yeah,
right there. Gravitas. The campaign will be resolved by the biggest gravitas. Not that that makes any sense, but you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean, Bob. You know, Gary's right. We don't bring that up enough. We don't. You know, we do talk a lot about immigration, economy, abortion, but you know, he's right that it's very important. And if Trump had 4 more years, Bob, a lot of these actors would not have misbehaved. I believe that. I believe, because now, Bob, we're getting towards where the world is becoming a powder keg now, Bob, and very important to have somebody in there strong. And another thing you didn't mention, what about China? They're openly talking about taking Taiwan. That's another biggie if that happens. Another thing we'll have to be involved with. Yeah, if Trump's there, Bob, he likes to say he likes to negotiate. Well, you know what? Don't misbelieve him, because he likes doing that. He will talk. He will talk us out of wars.
He likes to declare bankruptcy. That's the other good thing is once we run completely out of money, based on his track record, he'll just put the country into bankruptcy protection. That way, the United States government could get away with, like so many of his businesses and employees getting, a lot of businesses, Trump businesses and employees and partners in the past learned the hard way that just because ostensibly he's responsible to pay you back doesn't mean you're going to get your money back, or certainly not the full amount.
That's right. Hey, Bob, think of this. And this has got to be true. Hamas, Putin, the immigrants, with the border, they all took advantage of this weak and feckless administration, Biden. That's exactly what happened.
I love the word feckless. Feckless. That word was used with disturbing frequency by the Spy magazine. And I'll tell you, the Spy magazine back in the 80s was very helpful for me, because it taught me, as one of the few people in upstate New York who subscribed to Spy magazine, they used the word feckless. They also popularized the phrase short-fingered vulgarian. So thanks to Spy magazine in the 80s, I got a good lesson about who this Donald Trump really is. Not just any other kid from Queens. No, he was something special. He was a kid to be reckoned with. Unlike other kids from Queens who obey the law and manage to get through life with 0 felony convictions, which is virtually everybody who grows up in Queens. In this particular case, this one particular Queens real estate developer managed to go through life with multiple bankruptcies for his businesses and ultimately racking up, so far, nearly 36 felony convictions. And so far, it hasn't hurt him at all.
Not at all, Bob. Bob, before I go, real quick, I'd like to bring up, because I heard you mention to Gary, you in the media are still going with that Arnold Palmer story, Bobby. And I've got to say, you all seem to be hung up on that. Okay? Want you to have a good day now, okay?
It's 9:49 here at WNBF. 607-772-1290. Feckless. That is a good word. Short-fingered vulgarian. That's an interesting phrase. And in the end, short-fingered vulgarian, what could that ultimately mean? Let's take another call. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Jim from Shenango Forks.
Morning, Jim. What's on your mind?
Well, I was just listening to some of the callers about Donald Trump and his gravitas. I think he's really a uneducated buffoon, and that's the way a great part of the world understands him to be. So I don't think he's got gravitas. Some of the leaders that used to work in his administration have indicated that he never took the time to investigate what expert knew about countries. He just goes by the seat of his pants. Didn't accept the input from experts or military leaders, and he's just not to be trusted. We know darn well that he would immediately let Putin take Ukraine and do whatever he wanted to. He's already alienated our NATO allies, and he certainly doesn't have a global understanding of how to bring about peace in the Middle East with Israel. So I think he would be a terrible influence on world peace if he gets back in. So
do you think Kamala Harris has more experience in dealing with leaders like the people she'd have to be able to somehow hopefully work with, the leaders of Russia and North Korea and Cuba and even Canada? I mean, is she capable? I think that's one of the questions voters will be asking over the next 13 days.
I certainly think she's capable. Let's face it, she has a team, and I think she's the type of person that will rely on the support of her administration and experts in the field, and people understand that. She's a prosecutor. She knows how to stand up and talk with people, and I believe she's willing to learn what she needs to learn to deal with situations like that.
Well, it's true. I mean, she was a highly respected prosecutor in California.
Yes.
Which, nothing against Trump. I mean, because in fairness, I only point this out about Donald Trump only because it's true, whereas he's facing a person who has spent her life putting criminals, including felons, behind bars. He's an actual felon. Actually, and again, it cannot be overlooked. He's been convicted of 34 felony counts, which is, in my opinion, that's a lot of felony counts.
Well, yes, he certainly has been treated unfairly in that if he were treated like everybody else, he'd be in jail right now.
Well, that's true. I guarantee, well, virtually guarantee, because I can't prove it, but my gut feeling is if I were convicted of 34 felony counts, by now, I wouldn't be doing this show. I wouldn't be free to opine and pontificate unless they have high-speed internet at the federal facility in Allentown where I'd be serving, and then I could get special permission from the judge, from the court, to continue to do the show. But I don't think the judge, I doubt she would give me permission if I was serving 5 or 10 years for my 34 felony convictions.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
And
seems to be, if you don't mind my saying so, it seems that we have a two-tiered justice system in this country.
Well, it's true. I think people with a great deal of money can certainly influence the way the outcome is, and just in his delay tactics with handling the sensitive material, that he should be in jail for that right now. There's no doubt that he stole.
Well, and then putting some of the most sensitive documents down at Mar-a-Lago in the bathroom, of all places. I mean, of all places.
Yeah. Well, and showed them to people that shouldn't.
Exactly. What if those were bad actors? What if they decided they wanted to make some quick money to sell some of the information to the enemies of the United States? What then?
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Well,
all right.
Well, at any rate.
Yeah. Thanks for your opinions. I appreciate it.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, we'll take more calls coming up. We live in interesting times, and Binghamton Now is here for you. I'm Bob Joseph, Wednesday morning at News Radio, WNBF and WNBF.com. 607-772-1290 is the hotline. Those who wish to participate will, and those who wish to sit this one out won't. So go ahead. Make that call if you wish to have a conversation. If you're one of those people who find live conversations disturbing or unpleasant, you probably won't want to listen to this program because we have live. Oh, look who's here. Hey, just come on in. Hey, what's going on? Hi. Welcome to the thing.
To the thing.
By the way, we're on the air, so choose
my words carefully.
Choose your language with care.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. How are things?
Super busy.
As they ought to be.
Really, just 40 years of playing around, right?
That's what I say. Hey,
And
it's fun and frolic. Oh, by the way, before we go further, Cheryl Dutko from the Discovery Center.
Good morning.
Hi, welcome.
So glad to be here. And it feels like summer out there.
It's unbelievable.
We had the most perfect day yesterday for our ribbon cutting on our new pirate ship playground. So
Was Jim Emke there?
I did not see Jim.
I must have a word.
Steve, I think, was there.
Okay. Well, as long as someone from News 34.
Yes.
Fox 40.
Yeah, I think everybody was
Action
there yesterday.
News.
Action News.
Okay. WSKG, Public Media.
I don't know. There were a lot of people there.
Press and Sun Bulletin.
We had BLI did a fundraiser for us for the picket fence, the Decker Foundation, CLE, county executive, the mayor, our Discovery Center Foundation, and I'm sure I'm going to miss somebody, but a lot of people.
Bottom line is the Discovery Center appreciates all the support from across the community.
This is true. And now there's a brand new pirate ship for all of the children of the community and any grown-ups that, want to play pirate too.
I know one. Anyway, so you also have something special is coming up this weekend.
Yes, it is our Hollow Weekend, which this year is
scary.
Well, it could be scary, but we try to keep it the fun side of Halloween.
That's the way it should be.
You know?
That's what Halloween originally was about. And
yeah.
Then they turned it into some sort of scare fest.
Yeah. Now, we do jokes and riddles throughout the museum. And, of course, we're decorated for Halloween.
Will there be jack-o'-lanterns?
There are jack-o'-lanterns, yes,
right.
Of course.
Pumpkin spice?
We have pumpkins. The Story Garden, it's fall. It's beautiful. Story Garden is in full splendor. We have, in addition to the Discovery Center, Norman the Gnome, who changes with the season, and he is dressed like a pirate for our new pirate ship. So that's his Halloween costume. And he will change again for Christmas, I'm sure. We have a DJ coming. We're doing a Monster Mash dance party, lots of crafts and activities. And of course, this is campus wide. So this is our one big event where you can go to the zoo, you can go to the Discovery Center, and there's stuff happening all over the whole campus. So
nice.
And thanks to the zoo, they have a tram. So we're going to have a tram stop. So, if you get tired of walking, the tram will take you
That's a
to
great thing.
designated stops. And of course, the costume contest.
I'm going to go as a news guy.
Oh, I bet you could.
Yeah, I bet I could. There's creativity.
But there will be a lot of pirates there. So come
That's Saturday from 10 to 3?
Saturday from 10 to 3.
All right.
Special event price. So it's $10 for members and $13 for non-members. And it gets you the whole day. Gets you in both places. And it'll be a lot of fun. Kind of talk to some weathermen for, good weather.
I will. I'm going to call all the weather people.
We try.
Yeah.
We try.
Yeah. I think it's going to be nice. I mean, it's not going to be like it's been the last few days. This has been an aberration because it feels... I was listening to a weather guy. He works, of all places, for the Weather Channel, and he claimed that this weather that much of the country, including the Northeast, this weather that we've been experiencing in recent days is more like mid-August instead of mid-October.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I'll take it. I'm not quite ready
I'm not complaining.
for the snow.
But what I do know, because nobody except skiers are ready for snow, and I commiserate with skiers because last few seasons, from a skiing standpoint, they haven't had very good conditions around here. They've had to fly off to the far-flung places like Utah, but, the skiers have all the money, so it's...
okay.
Well, a lot of skiers just said, Bob, stop it.
I'll take snow at Santa.
I love snow. Here's when I love snow. Starting at about 2 p.m., December 24th, and ending at about 11 a.m. on December 25th. That's when I like snow.
That sounds good to me.
Give me a few hours of snow. I'll take all the pictures I need and video, and then wait till the following December. Anyway, for Halloween weekend on Binghamton's South Side, do people have to make reservations, or can they just pop over?
It would be best because we do have a limit of how many admissions we're going to have. You can go to our website, and it will take you to where you can purchase tickets. We try to limit to the walk-ins. We'll have a few spaces for walk-ins, but it's best to reserve your ticket. And we also are going to have Binghamton University nursing students there, and they will be doing a healthy Halloween, and they come with a lot of fun to encourage children to learn about either hand washing or stranger danger, and they do it in a fun way, and they dress up too, and so it's a lot of fun and educational too.
I love it. That's the way to have fun. That's the way to help young people or people of any age to actually learn something.
While they're playing.
Allow them to have fun, and along the way they're learning without even realizing they're being taught some important lessons.
That's our whole mission.
It's clever. Very clever. Very clever. The Discovery Center of the Southern Tier, conveniently located on Morgan Road on Binghamton's beautiful south side. So, and I always say when you're here, by the way, you haven't been here in quite a while. So thank you for popping in. I always say if people have questions about the mission of the Discovery Center or about future events, just check out the website.
Perfect. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. Cheryl Dutko joining us live here in the studio on this Wednesday morning at News Radio WNBF. 607-772-1290 is our number. I'm going to take some calls from only the good little listeners. If you've been a bad listener, you better wait till Friday. Friday will be for bad listeners. Today is for good listeners. 92.1 FM, 1290 AM. Stay connected using the free WNBF app. I have an old WNBF coffee mug. That was a phrase that we used back when I started here. It said, radio is red hot. I didn't know if it was meant to be taken literally or figuratively. 607-772-1290 here on WNBF, where we talk about Binghamton and beyond. Let's take a look at email. Oh, can't talk about that. That's embargoed. Embargoed means I can't talk about it till later. Here's an email from Gary. Foreign policy. People forget that as vice president the last 4 years, Kamala Harris went around the world meeting with world leaders. You didn't hear about it because President Biden was the one who had to answer the questions. Good point. So I think what that means is Kamala Harris certainly has had some experience dealing with some of the most important world leaders over the last nearly 4 years. So I think she should put that in her TV commercials. Accentuate that. What else here? Let's look. Big trouble there in Owego. Disregard. Oh, well, here's the thing. I'm not saying it's big trouble. It's just with the Walgreens putting up a sign that says pharmacy closed permanently. So that's what the sign says. And then at the same time, though, they are advertising because they want people to work at the pharmacy. So what does this actually mean? What it seems to mean, based on my reporting of the story, is that although the pharmacy at Walgreens at 153 Main Street in Owego is closed and the sign says pharmacy closed permanently, in fact, it may at some point reopen. The bottom line, from what I've been told, is they have been working to hire a pharmacist. In fact, they have a big sign. It says, "We're hiring pharmacist." And it was right next to the sign that said pharmacy permanently closed. So I have been told by a Walgreens employee is apparently, because this was a prolonged staffing issue, because of state regulations, they had to remove the pharmacy-related signage at the store. So as we saw from a report last August, WBNG had reported in August that the pharmacy was temporarily closed, and a statement that Walgreens provided to WBNG did indicate that they wanted to reopen the pharmacy as soon as possible. But I'm still waiting. Still waiting for the person in charge at Walgreens corporate headquarters to give me a call to provide some information. But anyway, we have a little bit more on our website here at WNBF.com. Of note is the announcement just last week that Walgreens plans to close 1,200 stores over the next 3 years. So if you drive around here, as I often do, drive around and look at the various pharmacies that remain. There aren't that many. I mean, look at how many CVS is closed over the last several years in Broome County. Walgreens closed their fabulous store on Main Street near the hospital in Johnson City, which is interesting because that store was relatively new, was a lot larger than the CVS store that was previously shut down on Main Street, almost next door. I mean, I could understand the CVS in Johnson City on Main Street being closed because that was an older store, and it seems to me it was about half the size. So, anyway, drive around, if you will, if you can afford gas at the new low prices. Drive around Broome and Tioga counties and make a list of all the pharmacies, and then pick three. Pick three pharmacies that you think will be closed in the next 18 months. It's pretty easy to figure out in many cases, not every case, but as they say, what they're going to do is look for the underperformers. So if your pharmacy is underperforming, then whether it's CVS or Walgreens or Rite Aid or whatever, if it's underperforming, I wouldn't be surprised that they shut it down. Not because they don't like you, just because it's about the money. That's all it's about. Well, they don't like Binghamton. Well, the people in Woonsocket don't really care one way or the other about Binghamton. The people in Woonsocket say, we want to make more and more money, so we're going to shut down underperforming stores, whether they're in Binghamton or Birmingham. And it's not personal. They don't care. If you were on a company, why would you care about a specific town or city or village? You're in the business of making money. That's why you're in business. You're not in business to keep people employed or serve people who need their prescriptions filled. It's 10:30 WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Bob. This is DJ in Binghamton. It's my speculation that what's going on is when you go to Wilson or Guthrie or any of the hospitals or any place like that, they have their own pharmacies. So maybe that's what's going on, and the pharmacies are, not doing great business because as soon as you're seen, there's a pharmacy at the Oakdale Commons, there's a pharmacy in Johnson City, Binghamton, and the walk-in on Robinson Street. No, they don't have a pharmacy. But there's a Walgreens on Robinson Street. That doesn't seem to be closing. And the one there are two on Robinson Street, the beginning of Robinson Street, and then up by the Lord's Walk-in don't seem to be closing. So we'll be all right. If every single pharmacy closes, you'll still have where you go to see the...
Well, the good news is Binghamton still has a sufficient number of drug dealers, so...
Yeah, I was going to say, you can order anything online pretty much.
I'm going to say, whatever you want. Did you see the kids are opening up their drive-up weed shop, the marijuana shop there at 439 Court Street will be opening, I believe, by Christmas Eve. So that's good news. Good news for those who indulge.
Oh, I don't know. But, yeah, the little kids, I don't know. Just don't buy any fentanyl because that's... Leave
the fentanyl.
Alone.
Leave the fentanyl alone. Fentanyl is not good, and many have learned the hard way.
Bob, you want to hear a funny story?
If it has something to do with fentanyl, not really, but...
Well, no, it has to do with a while ago when I had to go have a minor surgery, and they have to give me anesthesia, and I said, what's going to be in the anesthesia? And he said, fentanyl. I said, I don't want that. But I don't think he gave it to me because when I woke up, I wasn't groggy or anything. I was, as always, wide awake and everything. But they're putting fentanyl in the anesthesia. You got to ask, what are you putting in my anesthesia? He said, antibiotic. I said, I don't do antibiotics. Antibiotics give men male yeast infection. I don't do antibiotics. Please don't put that in there. So as far as I know, I was good and I'm good now. But I'd be careful about ordering things online because you order something online, you don't know what you're getting. So.
No, I don't. I don't need stuff online. When I want stuff, I want to actually go to the store and pick up the stuff myself. I don't want somebody in some distribution center handling my stuff before I get it. I don't care what it is. I want to go to the store, pick it up. If it's on a shelf. Hopefully it's not locked up. Around here, more and more stuff is locked up because of the people with larceny in their hearts. But for the most part, I'm such a traditionalist that I'll go. I know a lot of people say, but Bob, it's so much easier to order online. I know. But it's not environmentally friendly. So everybody who is ordering stuff online when you could go to a store and pick up the stuff yourself. Now, some people, because of their physical limitations, can't do it. But look, every time that there has to be a special delivery of the food or the
they
prescriptions.
deliver. I was just remembering that.
Well, think of all the cardboard. Think of all the waste. So environmentalist, if you're an environmentalist or a tree hugger, think about this. And again, I understand some people, because of their situation, their physical limitations, they can't get out of the house and go buy their own stuff. I get it. And so I'm not talking to those folks. I'm talking about the people, if you're in good shape, go out to the store and keep the store employees, working. That's the problem. That's why we're going to have stores closing, and every place will have the stores that remain, everything will be self-checkout.
For one thing, when it's shipped to you, you recycle the cardboard and everything. Another thing is, I just remember...
But you recycle it. It's still wasteful. What part of wasteful don't you get? Yeah.
No, it comes back in the form of the recyclable bin.
I know, but it's wasting money. So every one of those cardboard boxes, even if it goes into the recycling, that still costs money. So it's very wasteful. Trees are dying because
you're not a tree hugger, though, are you? What do you care? Hey, but listen, Walmart still is going with pharmacists and Price Chopper. I forgot about those. All the stores are not closing down. Pharmacy's got a Price Chopper has a pharmacy on Charlotte Street, the Charlotte Street Price Chopper. The end of Charlotte Street, where we grew up, me and Rob from Port Crane. And then Walmart has them in Vestal, Johnson City, so they're not going anywhere. Go to the Charlotte Street Price Chopper Pharmacy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, go there.
All right, Bobby.
All right, thanks, Deej. Oh, by the way, were you out on the street yesterday afternoon over there on the west side?
Out on the street at the west.
I thought I drove by you. I won't name the street, but not far from Main Street, just south of Main Street. Were you out on the street a few blocks from Rec Park?
A few blocks from Rec Park. I don't know about yesterday.
No, around, I'd say it was around 5 o'clock yesterday. Was that you?
No.
Okay. Never mind. 10:37. I thought it was him. I thought it was DJ. And I was out driving around on the west side because it was so nice. And I grabbed a Speedy on a whim because I was hungry. And then I went over to Rec Park to eat my Speedy because it was so nice. It was just like, it was spontaneous. You know how sometimes there was a guy, he set up a thing over on Main Street, and he was selling Speedies. And I said, I need one. And so I got a Speedy, and then I went out to Rec Park. And it was marvelous. What an afternoon. 10:38 WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Yes, Joe of Greater Ithaca. Gravitas.
Gravitas.
What is the meaning of gravitas? Dignity, seriousness, or solemnity of manner. Gravitas was one of the ancient Roman virtues that denoted seriousness. It also translated variously as weight, dignity, etc. With that, I do not think that gravitas is the right word for ex-President Trump.
Certainly not at his rallies.
Not anywhere.
I was going to. Well, I don't know. Well, not on the Billy Bush bus. There was no dignity, seriousness, or solemnity of manner on the Billy Bush bus. And again, I hate to keep bringing it up, but it's disgusting. It's disgusting that the most powerful person on the planet would talk that way.
Now, who had gravitas?
George W. Bush.
Yes.
Not H.W. Bush. George W. Bush. He had a lot of gravitas.
Al Gore.
Albert Gore Jr., filled with gravitas.
In fact, he had so much gravitas, people didn't want to listen to him.
He conceded the election. I mean, that's why a lot of people didn't think he had gravitas, but he had the courage, even though he was the winner of the election. If he really pushed it, he could probably have incited his followers to go nuts and tried to riot in Washington to have the vote prevent the vote from being certified. But Al Gore Jr. had enough gravitas not to do that.
Well, he invented the information superhighway when no one else thought of it.
Exactly. And let's be clear, what would life be like without Al Gore's invention of the internets?
Yeah. Well, see, also, he was right about the climate change.
He was absolutely right. He got that one right. I mean, this guy, not only did he have gravitas, but he was brilliant. He was one of the most brilliant vice presidents ever.
You know, you kind of think of, suppose things went differently. Suppose he got to be president, and then after him, who would have come after him? But a whole chain of different presidents than what we ended up with, like where we would be with the climate change right now. We wouldn't be there yet, but we'd be a lot more in the right direction. And that's the thing, too. If Trump gets in there, he's going to pull it the other way.
So it is actually interesting. So what you're saying, and this is sort of an exercise that we could do here on the radio. So if things went the way they could have, because Al Gore, as many people believe, won the 2000 election, although the Supreme Court selected the Republican. But say if Al Gore was sworn in on January 20th, 2001, and then if he served as president for 8 years, and then most likely in 2008, the Democratic presidential nominee probably would have been Joe Lieberman, because he would have been Al Gore's vice president. So we could have had 8 years of Al Gore. We could have had 8 years of Joe Lieberman. Yeah, the world would be totally different.
Yeah, I think about that. There's an interesting movie that came out about 10, 15 years ago. It was called Confederate States of America. Right? And the premise of the movie was if the South won the Civil War. And a lot of it was just crazy stuff like that. But it was still a cool thing. Like they were trying to indict Lincoln. They were trying to track him down and lock him up.
Well, say what you want about Lincoln. He was never convicted of a single felony.
No. Well, let's suppose instead of going to war, Lincoln said, "Let the South, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Let the South be its own country." Yeah,
can you imagine? That would be. Oh my gosh. It's hard. It's hard to even fathom that whole thing.
Yeah, how would we go to World War II?
Yeah, good point.
A lot of things. But yeah, the gravitas is not. I don't see how that fits with Trump.
No, that's an excellent point.
I'm trying to think of a word, and I can't.
I can think of a word, but I can't use it because of the FCC.
But it's those kind of words that's you don't want to do those kind.
Yeah, those are the best words, but
it's the 10-year-old kids. Words.
I was going to say those were the words. Those were the words I stopped using decades ago after my mom pointed out that the English language is filled of many better words. I mean, when you start going to the gutter to express your disappointment or amusement or whatever, when you resort to gutter words, people automatically think you're not that bright.
Who was the here's a trivia for you. Politician. He used the word doofus for somebody, and that got passed around a long time. I don't know if you remember that or not.
No, I don't.
Yeah, he says, he says, I think he used his own name. He says something, and he was a Republican well-known like that, thinks he's a doofus. There's a word that has no meaning.
A shameful. Well, it has a meaning.
Put your own meaning.
Yeah.
It's a child word.
Yeah, it's something you might hear on a really bad talk show, like, say, Afternoon. Not a talk show. Okay, here's the definition, according to Britannica. Definition, U.S. slang, a stupid or foolish person. So, yeah, that's why
Too much of it.
That's why I don't use that word.
Well, I guess you couldn't use stupid, but foolish,
Well, foolish.
Foolish, yeah.
Foolish.
I think
Foolish isn't as nasty. Calling someone a doofus or stupid is kind of. I mean, even if that's the way you feel, it seems that kind of comment. Now, if you wanted to take a higher road, you could say, in my personal opinion, that person's unqualified, as opposed to saying, in my personal opinion, he's a doofus. If you want to,
they could be. Unqualified could be anything. He's unqualified to be a doofus.
Oh, jeez. Thank you. That's the story from Greater Ithaca with our friend Joe. 1045 at News Radio, WNBF, the program for the intelligent listener. 607-772-1290. More calls coming up on this Wednesday morning with Bob Joseph on Binghamton Now. And there is a lot to talk about. Of course, the election continues to dominate our national dialogue, and rightfully so, because this is a serious, serious election. Many people sometimes think the presidential election is not really that serious. Well, the reality is this election is by far the most serious election of your lifetime. Don't kid yourself. This is for all the marbles. This is democracy on the line. Morning, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
John Binghamton. Let me tell you what's wrong with this country and what's wrong with this city, if you don't mind.
Please do.
I was watching the last couple of Trump town halls, and it hit me. This never-ending procession of people that are not looking at the country as a whole, but as they're essentially going to Trump to lobby them on something that directly affects them. So here's what you get. I'm a vet. What are you going to do about my benefits? I'm a single mother. What are you going to do? The cost of child care is this is a complete joke. These people are lobbying for their own self-interest. They're not interested in this country. They're not interested in a cohesive country. They want goodies. They want freebies. It's disgusting. This is compensation neurosis. People join the service, Bob. They're not drafted anymore. This is an all-volunteer army. You know exactly what the benefits are or will be by the contract, your enlistment contract that you sign. And I believe that these are good people and patriotic people. However, when they get back home and find out that there's a much different system in place, I mean, you don't get money in the private sector unless you're in politics, like you do at Fort Drum, to sit around and stare into space, and move as slow as you possibly can. And let me tell you something: Tunnels to Towers and all these funds with has done an unbelievable job on the psyche of this country. Because again, does it really make any difference, Bob? If you're without limbs, does it really make any difference whether you lost them in Iraq or whether you lost them in a car accident or whether you lost them to diabetes? Does it really make any difference? Aren't we all people? This country is doomed. What are you going to do about Israel, plus or minus? I've had it. Now, let me get to what's wrong with the city. Cram now is going to waste the police time chasing down pot in stores, so-called illegal pot shops. Now, there was another option, a very good option on the table, and that option would have been for Binghamton to opt out of legal pot sales altogether.
But it's
Then
too
you
late
would
now.
have
You
the
can't
Binghamton
you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. That might have been something to be considered.
Well,
whenever, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 years ago, but ultimately, the city and city council, in its infinite wisdom, decided that the way to go is legal weed.
well, maybe it can be revoked.
No, what municipality in New York State has ever revoked after it's given permission for legal marijuana sales? What municipality has ever done that?
Well, let me think about it. Let me analyze it. Let me get back to you. Let me stick in a resolution at City Council to do just that.
Are you suggesting to me, John, on live radio that you may submit a proposal, a request for legislation to actually move in the city of Binghamton to rescind the authorization of legal sales of cannabis to those over the age of 21?
Yes, because it's not working. It only benefits really one guy who wants to inflict this. You know, the guy that was going to repair and open up a performing arts center at Cameo Theater, the guy that's on the board of directors of the Urban League that is near broke, that guy who wants to make money addicting his fellow minority people to marijuana. This is horrific. And I want to tell you one more thing, Bob.
John, we're out of time for this segment.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. That's John from Binghamton with some opinions. What do you think? We'll tackle this in our next segment. Should the city of Binghamton give serious consideration to ending the legal sale of marijuana? That's coming up next hour here on WNBF. First, we're joined in the studio by John Darrow, and it's always great to have you with us here at WNBF.
My favorite radio station in the greater Binghamton listening area, Bob.
Yes, we are something worth preserving.
Absolutely.
Yes. Serving Binghamton and beyond for nearly a century. So we've become a fixture, for better or worse.
For better.
Yes, thank you. Anyway, you're here to tell us about the Spirits of Binghamton's Past, a ghostly walking tour. And this is a big annual event that's put on by the Preservation Association of the Southern Tier.
That is correct. This is the 16th year that Past has hosted the Spirits of Binghamton's Past tour. We have new and exciting, not quite ghoulish ghosts or spirits, but really cool ones this year. A new spirit for us. We have Slam Stewart. If you remember Slim and Slam, this is the man that wrote Flatfoot Floozy with the Floy Floy. And one of your competitors, Mo Green, from that other broadcasting corporation, is going to be performing as Slam Stewart. He will. Oh, yes. You know, he's in Ship of Fools, the Dead cover band. The guy is outstanding. We've actually gotten Slam Stewart's original bass on loan from the university for him to perform with. This is going to be an outstanding and exceptional tour this year.
Well, Mo is so talented.
Great
Remember,
guy.
he used to work here, so he's a former colleague. And
yes.
The way I look at the broadcast business, there are so few of us left here in the Binghamton market. We're all, even if we work for different entities right now, we're still part of an extended family. So I'm glad to hear he'll be part of this. That's great.
Great guy. Of course, you know, Willis Sharp Kilmer will be back this year at the Kilmer Mansion on Riverside Drive. And it's a particular note that his horse, Exterminator, the winner of the 1918 Kentucky Derby, this very April was inducted into the Greater Binghamton Sports Hall of Fame. That's not bad for a horse that's been dead since 1945. Let's hope that these other sports players have a lasting legacy that will equal that of Exterminator, and perhaps things will happen for them in their future, hopefully not too near. Also with Mr. Kilmer, and this is really quite unique, the spirit of his last wife, the third and last wife, Sarah Jane Wells Kilmer, will be manifesting along with the butler. We've heard there may be some torrid escapades between the two of them. Of course, Mr. Kilmer himself is well known for his philandering.
Well known, well documented, I believe. The you take this very seriously. I mean, you put a lot of effort into this. You and all the other people at PASS that have made this now a really important Binghamton tradition.
We do. It is phenomenally important. PAST is an organization that exists to preserve the architectural integrity of our community. We are broad-based. We cover multiple counties. We're out through Tioga County and such. Without a past, you have no future. If you look to downtown Binghamton, if you look to downtown Owego, if you look to residential and religious communities far and afield from Binghamton, you will see the impact that PAST has had on achieving grants and getting local landmark, state recognition, and national register status for so many of the buildings that otherwise would have been lost. And it is our cultural heritage that we are trying to preserve. That is what PAST does.
And I appreciate it. As a person who was born here in Binghamton and actually born just, probably about 6 blocks west of the Kilmer Mansion. By the way.
My neighborhood.
Yes, it's a beautiful neighborhood, the Wild West Side. By the way, I really enjoyed the tour that you provided earlier this year when I visited the Kilmer Mansion, because oddly enough, I had never been inside the Kilmer Mansion. I know. And you showed me all the nooks and crannies, and I just felt very privileged to have you show me through the place on that, I believe it was a Saturday afternoon. And I just found the whole place fascinating. I was really pleased to see so much work that obviously had been done over the last couple of years in terms of the restoration work. I know still some additional work is planned, but what a marvelous
Thank you very much.
Piece of our history.
Friends of Kilmer Mansion that lease the Kilmer Mansion from Temple Concord have been doing phenomenal work. The restoration of the chimneys, restoration work taking place of the masonry, the front and rear porches and or patios, and that includes the structural steel underneath, because it's been neglected for the past 100+ years, and the steel actually rusted where it wasn't even safe to walk out onto these porches. This has all been taken right down to the bones, brand new structural steel, new masonry. We're pouring concrete, getting ready to lay the tiles. We've done interior restoration, painting, phenomenal stuff. Given a couple more years, a lifetime, the mansion will return to its glory, an age of gaslights and gingerbread.
Well, it's just great to see. So a tip of the hat to all the people who've been working on that property, as well as so many other properties here in Binghamton and elsewhere around Broome County. Sometimes the work that's being done gets some attention, and sometimes the work that's being done doesn't receive much attention at all. But frequently I notice when I see people, whether it's private property owners or people who are working perhaps with some organization, I see what they're doing, and it's reassuring that many people do share my strong feelings for preserving our heritage, as well as the feelings that you have and the other members of PASS.
Well,
so it's a good thing.
Very important thing. There are also many different tax credits and programs available for people out there. If you're trying to restore your home or preserve your home, there's restoration, preservation, rehabilitation. There are programs out there that make a lot of state and federal money available to you. You have to apply in advance. You can't do the work and then come up and say, because it doesn't quite work that way. The programs are out there. It's a benefit for the property owner. It's a benefit for the neighborhood. It's a benefit for the community overall. It's a wonderful thing.
So this Friday, the Spirits of Binghamton's Past, the Ghostly Walking Tour, with the guided tour starting at St. Patrick's School at Oak and Leroy Street, and tours will be done at 15-minute interviews from 6 to 8:45 p.m. What else do people need to know?
It's a $20 per person admission, and the tickets are selling, if not sold. It has been an overwhelming experience. Again, our 16th year. We might just be sold out this year. I'm not 100% positive. You should contact the past office or get on our website. And, of course, we offer house tours, different tours throughout the year, the Sacred Sites Tour. We would love to have you active, be out there, help save your community.
John Darrow, thank you. And I, again, commend the Preservation Association of the Southern Tier for the work that it has done, and I know the work that it will continue to do.
Thank you, sir.
It's 11:18 News Radio, WNBF, 607-772-1290 is our number. Binghamton Now, worth preserving at WNBF and WNBF.com.
Serious injury?
11:21, more calls, more often. Selena in Binghamton, good morning.
Good morning, Bob. Love your show. That last bumper sounded like me.
Isn't it good?
I called to say I 100% agree with John in Binghamton. This divided states of America is going to heck in a handbasket.
It's time for unity. I say let's become united again. United States of America, USA.
Yeah, but people forget where money comes from. Other people. It's time for us to respect each other.
That's right. We can't just spend and spend and spend and think that there is not going to be a day where ultimately we're all going to be held accountable.
Yeah, but with no people, no money. It's time we respect each other.
I agree.
Bring this back to the United States of America.
And do the right thing.
Do the right thing. I totally 100% agree with John from Binghamton. Thank you for taking my call.
All right. Thanks, Selena. It's 11:22 at WNBF. Do the right thing. Let's not do the wrong thing. Wednesday morning here at News Radio WNBF. This weather. I know it sounds like I'm spending too much time talking about the weather, but why not? With the weather this nice, this might be the last really, really, really nice day of the year. What if it is? What if we have to wait until spring for another day quite as nice as this? I'm not saying we necessarily will. There will be other nice days over the next several weeks. Guaranteed. We have nice days in November and December, but will we have a day this warm, this sunny, this beautiful between now and next spring? I don't know. That's why as soon as I'm done, as soon as they let me out of my secure talk bunker, I know you're saying, but Bob, I thought you were using the talk deck. No, we don't have a talk deck. We have a talk bunker. See, they have a weather deck. What they wanted was a weather bunker. But they were unable to come up with a plan for a weather bunker, so now they use their weather deck. But I'm in the talk bunker, perfectly safe, perfectly secure, surrounded by hundreds, if not thousands of tons of steel, concrete, and glass. And everything is fine. And then I'm sure at exactly noon, the automatic lock will let me out, and then I can go out to Round Top and spend the afternoon reporting on everything going on at Round Top. I'll be up there probably from 12:30 to 4:30. I'm kidding. And some people are saying, oh, good, I'm going to go up to Round Top and see Bob up there reporting. No, I'm kidding. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you where I'm going to be this afternoon. I'll be out reporting, I bet. If you do see me out reporting, please say hello. Here's the forecast. It is official from the National Weather Service. Sunny today, high 76, mostly cloudy tonight with a chance of showers, low 45, mostly cloudy tomorrow to start. Gradually becoming sunny, high 56, and Friday sunny, high 60. Right now, here in downtown Binghamton, it's 70. That's 21 Celsius at News Radio WNBF. Let's take a look, shall we, at our big stack of stuff. The big stack of great stuff. Yes, this is the portion of the program you've all been waiting for as we go to the big stack of stuff. On the top of the stack, Tim Walz has some thoughts. Of course, Tim Walz, the Democratic vice presidential candidate, he made a stop with Barack Obama in Wisconsin. Tim Walz urged people to vote early. And believe it or not, he took shots. He took shots, figuratively speaking, at Donald Trump.
He dropped out of 3 interviews, and his staff, in a moment of clarity and truth, said he was exhausted. Look, I don't care how exhausted he is, because I can promise you he's not as exhausted as the American people are of him.
Whoa. There's a witty little barb. What about this? What about being at McDonald's there in Pennsylvania for the big McDonald's photo op where they closed down the McDonald's in Pennsylvania? Did he serve any quarter pounders there, by the way?
He missed an opportunity, though. Being at McDonald's, he looks much more like Ronald McDonald and the clown that he actually is.
Tim Walz, don't go there. Did Donald Trump give out any quarter pounders when he was at McDonald's? I'm just asking for a friend. Now remember, the election is coming up. We're just now days away. The election is just 13 days away. So this is what it's about. This is exactly what it's about. This is why we have the news media, to keep track of when the elections are.
This election is 2 weeks from today, and early voting has started here in Wisconsin.
Whoa.
Our team is running like everything is on the line, because everything is on the line.
Well, here's something I had not heard, and this is still from our giant stack of stuff, even though it happened a couple of days ago. They, somehow I missed this. Of course, you may have heard Elon Musk handed out his second $1 million prize for people signing on to his petition supporting free speech and the right to arm bears. And so Tim Walz was asked about that on ABC's popular chat fest called The View.
That's what you do when you have no plan for the public, when you have no economic plan that's going to benefit the middle class, when you have no plan to protect reproductive rights, when you have no plan to address climate change and produce American energy, you go to these type of tactics.
Yikes. Well, I guess I should start paying attention. I didn't even realize he was on the ABC Chat Fest The View, but he was. 11:29. Let's take more calls here on the station. Hey, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Bob from Binghamton.
Hey, Bob.
Now he's insulting Ronald McDonald. I think he went a little too far.
Yeah, well, the question you have to ask yourself, was he actually when Donald Trump was at McDonald's, was he actually handing out quarter pounders?
I don't know, but they were comparing him to Ronald McDonald, and I just thought it's quite insulting for Ronald.
It was. It was. You know, they used to say, the Democrats used to say, when they go low, we go high. So apparently that's no longer the case. Apparently, the Democrats now say, when they go low, we go lower. Right? That's what I think. They've changed. It's way different now than it used to be. Remember, she used to say, when they go low, we go high. But apparently that doesn't work in the current climate. Hi, WNBF. It's 11:30. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, good morning, Bob. This is Vinny from Binghamton.
Yes, good morning, Vinny. What's on your mind?
Well, I'll tell you more of the border, but I'm doing it at a different level. I'm doing it a different way. You want to talk about basically as they say, the elephant in the room, and that's our corporations. Bob, I'm sure you're familiar with Barron's magazine, or you've heard of it, Barron's.
Yeah. Trump's son has put out a magazine. It's pretty good for a young man who's only 18. Barron's magazine. I know. I'm kidding. Okay. It's a bad joke, but a good magazine.
Bob, but sometimes, hey, you have to enlighten people. You have to educate people. There's a great article in my newest one. It's called "Companies Need More Immigrants. They Dare Not Admit It." Voters will soon decide whether Trump or Harris will handle the immigration crisis. The stakes for U.S. businesses and the economy are high. They need immigration, but they don't want to say anything. They said to get a sense of immigration crisis, look no further than Amazon. The company is the largest sponsor of H-1B work permits for skilled foreign workers over the past 3 years, and would probably hire more if allowed. They're short in warehouse workers since 2022 and has run a program to help refugees get work at other companies. And we're talking about Tyson Foods. We're talking about Alphabet, Microsoft, Meta, and Apple. Hilton Worldwide Holdings, Blackstone, Marriott, and they need these workers. And they're saying, if we don't get them, you're going to see our economy start to tank, because we've got these jobs to fill, and they can't get them. That's why I keep talking about. And as far as getting these figures, can I just say this, Bob, real quick, for our other caller? As far as me trying to get these figures about how many people are coming in a day and all this other kind of stuff. Listen, I've gone down this road I don't know how many times trying to tell you about the border, not these people that are here, these illegals, about how we stop them, not by sending them back, by getting them at the border. So I'm at the point now is you go look it up. Okay, you got a set of eyes. You can see. You go look it up. I'm done. I'm done over there. But that's what I wanted to say. These corporations want these immigrants. That's why when you went out to Springfield, you notice how the news didn't cover any of these immigrants. The mayor did say something. He goes, listen, we got this jobs. We got these corporations coming in, and they need workers. They didn't go ask the owners. They didn't go ask, like, the managers, because they would tell you the same. Yeah, we got to have some workers. And we don't have them. We don't have the population here. And if we don't, these corporations are going to pull up and leave. They're going to do an IBM, basically.
Well, of course.
Gone.
Well, of course.
Well, yeah.
So, no, of course. I mean, when it comes to business, the only thing business cares about is doing business. There are two things when it comes to business. They have to keep doing business, but even more importantly, they have to keep making more money quarter after quarter. So, I'm not telling tales out of school. Some people, if they hear that on the radio, it's like, wait, where'd you hear that? That all businesses just want to make money and keep making more money quarter after quarter. Who told you that? And it's like, everyone. It's not a secret. That's what it's about. And some people will look at me slack-jawed and say, well, I don't think that's what it's about. It's not just about the money. It's like, yeah, it is. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just the thing. Don't kid yourself. Don't be delusional. Don't wax poetic and say, well, I heard Coca-Cola say they like selling happiness in a bottle. Yeah, they like selling happiness in a bottle or a can because it makes them money. It's nothing wrong with that. You can run all the happy, heartwarming commercials you want and evoke all the memories and the goodness of happiness at the beach, and then family memories during the holidays after the cops have left. That's what I'm saying. It's all good, but mostly it's good because it's good business.
That's right, Bob. In this article, they talk about go talk to your local chamber of commerce.
Exactly.
They'll tell you the same thing.
They yeah, you're right on that money. Right on that money, and it's a good thing because it's what it's about. We're about the money in America. Money talks. No one walks. At 11:35 here at WNBF. Still time for a few more calls. So if you have alternate points of view, get them on the air right now. Well, the getting's good. Hi, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
This is Tom from Mendwell.
Hey, Tom. Good morning.
And I'm glad. I was waiting for him to call because if you read the article, it says absolutely nothing about how many illegals they're going to allow into this country. It's a blank check. And let's remember, the key point in survival in America is housing. We have a housing shortage, Vinny. Where are we going to put them? Who's going to pay for it?
And best of all, who is going to build the houses? I'll tell you this, Tom and Endwell, most of the people who are doing most of the construction in most of America are probably, I shouldn't say most, many of them have come to the United States fairly recently, and they're willing to do the work that needs to be done because there's a labor shortage. And you go to job sites and talk with some of the people, but be sure, if you go to many of the job sites, make sure you're able to speak Spanish and talk with many of the workers about why they're here and why they're working. Because they're, right now, the people who have come to this country over the last 5 or 10 years, they're what make America great.
Bob, again, who's going to pay for all these housing for all?
We will with American dollars. But again, we will find the money. The toughest aspect isn't going to be how to pay for it. It's going to be who's going to build the stuff. Who is going to work at these sites and do the difficult work, working when it's 100 degrees out there or warmer, or even working this winter when the temperature is below zero. Who will be doing the work in Broome County and beyond?
Bob, who's going to pay for all the material?
Americans will. Americans will pay money, especially for USA-made products. Made by proud Americans, union members. People are being paid what they're worth.
Bob, people are already struggling.
I know. In a lot of cases, they're struggling because they are being paid an insufficient wage. They're being unappreciated. They need to be appreciated. Pay them more and make a stronger America. Support the men and women who are working hard to rebuild the American infrastructure.
Bob, can I speak, please?
Please do.
The American people are now struggling. They cannot be taxed any further. We have a housing shortage. What are you going to do with all these people that we already have when we already have a housing shortage? We have Americans that are living in the streets. Shelters are full. They're making places for people to go. And a lot of these places are unsafe. And back to the border bill. All that you are allowed to see on all these different articles that aren't even verbatim, all it talks about is adding more people at the border, more judges to process them. And then it even goes even further, stating that they do not have to announce publicly at all deporting any illegals. So therefore, they don't even have to deport any. I mean, even Barack Obama, reported the illegals leaving. Did he actually make them go? Who knows? But at least he was able to report it. This whole bill is such a broad brush. When is the ending? How much money are the American taxpayers paying now to house them, clothe them, their medical, their food? But on your show, we talk about how unaffordable everything is. Food. I go to the grocery store, I buy 2 bags of food. It's over $200. And then I didn't even pick up any meat. And you look at this like it's a joke.
It is no joke.
Bob.
What do you think? That I go to a special store where all the food is cheaper? I go to the same stores you go to and pay the same amount as you pay. So don't make it sound like you're somehow special and that you're being singled out for higher prices. I pay the higher prices too, just like you.
And on top of all these illegals coming to America, it was a huge conspiracy theory at the very beginning when the Democrats opened the border that they're going to push for all these illegals to start voting. And that was a conspiracy. Now here we are.
Well, get me Alex Jones on line 2. If you're going to start talking about conspiracies, get Alex Jones. He's the king of the conspiracies. Come on.
Say it on your...
Come on, man. Don't blame all of our problems on people who may have entered the USA illegally. A lot of our problems have been brought on by ourselves and by lackluster leadership. The problems of America can't be blamed exclusively on those who have arrived here simply looking for a better life.
So say on your show that they are not going to be able to vote in America.
They are not going to be able to vote in the presidential election. They are not. There. You heard it on Binghamton Now with Bob Joseph, 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, streaming at WNBF.com. Tioga County, Joe and Owego, good morning. You're on the air.
The busy phones aren't going to be too busy as far as I'm concerned, but in listening to the last 2 or 3 callers, a whole lot of this trash could be resolved with simple, accurate information, not biased, not clouded, not semantic, not anything else. The tax burden, where people are getting their money. One of my major concerns, and I think is evident, is the tax credits for the solar farms. If you do the arithmetic on that one, you'll really be surprised. But again, I'm going to say ignorance is the cause of a great deal of stress. If we force the people who want the responsibility to manage our lives to actually tell us how they're managing our lives, we'd all feel better. We may not be happier, but we'd feel better. Thank you for the opportunity, Bob. Appreciate your show. Bye.
Thanks. As we continue with the most calls possible, Martin in Binghamton, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, 2 topics that were on the radio. I was driving out to Enwell and back, dropped my dog off real quick. But anyway, sitting in my car. Right next door here, in Memorial Day weekend, my neighbor had his roof done, the entire roof. Who did it? I think it was 7 Hondurans. All weekend, a tear-off, a big tear-off of slate. That is heavy. That is old. I used to be in the union. I've seen that. But boom, they did it, and a beautiful job. And I noticed on a major contractor, I noticed on his commercial the other night, he was talking about, get your roofing in, seasonal roofing. Who was on the roof? They were all immigrants. These people are taking over, and they're good and they're efficient. Then the other topic was John talking about closing the weed stores. Never happened. The cat is out of the bag, but the state has egg on their face big time. Well, why? Because these sticker stores, they're called, they came in. I know exactly. I consume marijuana. I don't drink, but I smoke a little weed at night in my home. They opened up in November of 21, and they never did nothing. They let him go. I think their logic was they thought they were cute, taking the money out of street dealers' hands, and so they didn't have to worry about that. And I don't know if they ever collected money or whatever, but the street dealers, those people, put money back in the economy. And I heard on the radio at the news shortly after John was talking that they opened a new dispensary, and the state has funded it. And so, it'll never happen. But the big dichotomy there is that they didn't close these sticker stores. They're out of control, especially in New York City. They're all over the place, and so they're trying to play catch up and whack-a-mole. But that'll never happen as far as closing these sticker stores.
All right. We'll see. They said they made the big announcement yesterday, so we'll see. Because they'll announce if they close down illegal outlets. I'm sure they'll announce it.
Well, they've been closing some of them, but they've been dragging their feet.
Well, and what, I went into some of those illegal outlets a couple years ago when they were all the rage, and they were just kind of laughing. They didn't want a news story, but the guys I talked with, they just kind of laughed because I said, well, aren't you worried that you're going to get closed down? And basically, for the most part, I was like, yeah, well, whatever. If we get closed down, we'll get closed down, and then we'll open up. It's Martin, I think it's just part of the cost of doing business.
Well, yeah, and they were making money hand over fist.
Of course. And that's the thing. They even said a lot of times the cops would come in, and the cops knew. The cops couldn't do anything about it, really. The cops, sometimes they would even call the cops, say if there was a call for service, a dispute or whatever, business dispute, or somebody just behaving poorly. They'd call the cops, come over here to the illegal weed world. Cops would come, take care of the problem, and take names, for the report and say, okay, have a good afternoon, continue, be good. Because, there's no political, in the grand scheme of things. The only thing the state really cares about when it comes to the sale of weed is cash. Cash. Appreciate it, Martin. Thank you. It's the cash, baby. Matt from Binghamton, you're on the air.
Hey, just yesterday the guy said it was common sense that the Democrats could have passed the border bill because they had, in the first 2 years of Biden's administration, they had both houses and presidency. No, that's not. If you look it up, the reason it failed, he did put a bill in right away. It failed because Josh Hawley and those guys said, no way, we're not. You needed 60 votes to get it to be considered because of the filibuster rule, and that's why it failed. Now, go fast forward to this year when there was a bill that earlier this year that had bipartisan support and had enough votes to pass, and that's when Donald Trump got involved and killed it. So, no, it is all on the Republicans. They always, in 2013, they did the same thing. Stephen Miller went around with Jeff Sessions and killed the bill back then. It's always been the Republicans killing it. And then, what's his name's always saying, I won't put a number on how many immigrants it should be able to come across. If we all get together and do the right thing, we will figure it out. Right now, the border crossings are the lowest level even before when Trump was in there. So that's without any law in place. That's what Biden administration and Harris has done. But it's not a good system because, we're not treating people humanely. And people come. There's a way that we can do this if we all put our heads together that will help, as Vinny said, help all the people that need to get jobs, make them good citizens, and we can even do it out of the country and have people come so they don't have to travel all that way and die.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see what happens. In the end, it's going to be up to the voters, right?
Because Republicans have been the ones who have obstructed it, and it's all on them. And so the guy, it does seem to make sense, except when you forget about the filibuster, and that's exactly what they did in the first year of Biden's administration.
All right, thank you. Let's see if we could squeeze in a couple more calls before we wrap it up for this Wednesday. Hi, WNBF, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, well, this is Carol from JC, and I didn't think I was going to make it. But anyway, talking about Walz and WALZ and his comments about Donald Trump, I don't know. It was totally uncalled for. And you know who he reminds me of? My friend and I were having a conversation one day about why he looks so familiar. Walz. You know who Walz reminds me of? Saturday Night Live, Chris Farley, when he played the motivational speaker, when he would be boisterous and loud and stomping his feet and marching around. And that is exactly who Walz looks like and sounds like.
All right. Thank you. I hadn't thought about that. WNBF, good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
It's Roger from Chocolat.
Hey,
How
Raj.
are you this morning?
I am great. Thanks for getting in just under the wire. What's on your mind?
Two things. You played a couple of notes from Mr. Waltz this morning. You should play the one that he spoke on Elon Musk. That was really interesting. And one thing that Slick Willie said the other day, that perhaps Lake and Riley would still be alive if there'd been some vetting done, which is a good point. And as far as the lower border crossings, that's because they're flying them into the country, and they're not going through the border. So
who's flying them in?
The Biden administration. I watched a video that somebody did in Luzerne County here at the airport, where a airliner came in, didn't go to the gate.
All right.
Went to
we're out of time. I'll look that up. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll have to look that up. Luzerne County. It's not far from here. That's our program for today. Don't worry. I'll be back tomorrow morning from 9 to noon. I'm Bob Joseph on WNBF.